What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and you're here for another Facts Project review. Today, we are going to be covering Is Ted Okay? Issue 4. And first off, this entire storyline has been building up and has been masterfully playing into this storyline of how Ted, working for this trillionaire autocrat who has just announced himself to be running for president of the United States. Now, to paint the picture of the setting of basically where they're in, Ted lives inside of a bubble in the physical form. You know, it's literally, not figuratively. Like, he literally lives inside of a bubble because there was a nuclear event that basically caused a catastrophic ending to billions of human beings. And this one particular trillionaire, this, who was kind of resembling a certain almost trillionaire by the name of Noah, is pretty much trying to put himself forward on a pedestal as a steward to the people, and is kind of surveying his leadership, not only within this bubble, but beyond the entire world. And Ted is their most valuable asset. So if we remember from the first issues of Is Ted Okay, you saw outside of what was happening with Ted was Noah having this conversation with a journalist by the name of Kyle, who he was just so happened to having these conversations about what the bubble is there movement going on in here, what exactly is happening outside of here. So when we get into issue 4, we have Kyle and Noah basically kind of just surveying the land around the bubble. He's basically telling them that his whole end goal is leadership, but leadership on another level. You know, the reason that he's running for president is not sophistically a case that is done by accident, but it's all done purposeful. And the means of it are basically because he's going to admit certain things as to why he is running for president and why the world is the way that it is, because somebody with this much money and this much influence literally has wiped out all of his competition. The dude owns thousands of corporations. There is no competition for him. So like, what else is there left to do? What is the meaning now for you trying to obtain more power when there's no more power to give? Where, Noah, on the other hand, is pretty much mentioning to himself is like, no, there is a way I can obtain more power. And this, this bubble is a part of it. So as they retreat and he wants to show Kyle something, he opens up a couple doors into the floor to where they can start to go down and ascend to this like little cavernous area, right? But the scene cuts away to Ted, because if you remember from issue 3, this one right here, Ted just got shot in the face, and it almost seemed as though it was nothing by Brody, this person right here on issue 3 right here. He saw something while he was shot. He was dead for probably about close to a minute, right? But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ted achieved this sort of power sense, was able to basically grab Sarah and fly the hell up out of Dodge. Now, when we get to this particular scene where they landed, they meet up with this young woman who was like just getting a car, and I've been like almost like she's been waiting for this exact moment to pick up Ted and Sarah and get everybody out of there. But all the while, Brody is on the chase, but he's not there to basically, destroy everybody that's inside of this, looks like a mail truck or something like that, right? But the big thing is that Ted is pretty much like this desired valuable asset. Remember, he just got this award. When they pulled him up on stage, he confessed a bunch of things, basically saying that I know exactly what's going on here. I know exactly who every single one of you are. He runs out of the room. Brody is like pretty much tired of it, and that's when he basically ended him right then and there, but didn't. when we're looking at this lens of like who Ted is, that's been like the big mystery. The big mystery going forth is not only is Ted okay, is who is Ted? Who is Ted? And when they finally get basically stopped, and Brody is calling for the return of Ted. Matter of fact, he even threatens him with his cat. Ted is looking at this as like, why do you want me? What are you doing with me? And Brody is basically trying to convince him as to how valuable of an employee that he is for Ayn-Styne. This is Noah's company. And that he has to come back in. Now, Ted just got these new powers and starts to fume like almost, it looked like almost like the power set of Black Lightning in a sense, to where he pretty much goes into one of those kind of like Omega Blast and pretty much clears out all this whole militia that's basically been following, with Brody included. But I'm one of those people that watch movies and be like, okay, if I don't see a dead body, then I don't presume it to be true. And I saw the blast. Brody was included, but there was no aftermath to where you saw like a skeleton of Brody. So let's take that for what it is, but we might be coming back to that. We get back to Noah and Kyle. Obviously, they just went down this cavernous doorway into the floor, which led to like this underground river, right? And Noah proceeds to tell him that he is the one that basically caused this nuclear holocaust in the first place. And the shock, or better yet, something that pretty much was revealed, or that we kind of foresaw anyway, is that somebody of this much malicious intent, of this much influence and this much power, it's possible for him to do something like this. And he's just confessing it. But he's confessing it to a journalist, which is like, you asked for this journalist to be here to kind of get things on record. He's asking the questions that are bringing out the answers that you wanted to tell him in the first place. So when Kyle gets this revelation, because he pretty much signatures to him, he was like, when you kill one person, you're a murderer. When you kill hundreds of people, you're a serial killer. When you kill thousands of people, you're a conqueror. When you kill billions of people, you're a god. So this is what Noah sees himself as. Better yet, this is the plan going forth, because in the achievement of more and more power, this is the ascension that he must go into. Now, what is the link between Ted and Noah? We have to come to find that out, possibly in like issues 5 and going forth. But in the sense of it all, he confessed this entire thing to Kyle. What Kyle does with it, we don't know, because we won't know, because the ending is basically the end of Kyle. Basically Noah is foretelling a post-death nation, which is kind of like a weird conundrum anyway, and brings him into a radioactive room with one of his robots basically breaking his shoulder out of his spine to hold him still. And then pretty much Kyle is boiling under a radioactive light, but nothing is happening to Noah. Noah is pretty much eating the radioactivity that's happening in this room. So that tells you something. What is up with him? What is the link between Ted? Ted can get shot in the face and come back to life. He actually even saw like this flat pattern space and a young woman basically saying, "What are you doing here?" And then he shoots right back to life. Noah can withstand radioactive territory and pretty much nothing happens to him. And this is where we're at. Issue 4 was crazy. And I'm telling you, if you haven't started these books, I need you to start immediately if you get a hand on these. David Chisholm is doing a fantastic job writing and doing the artwork on his books. I talked to him, I'm going to say a couple months ago on the podcast about issue 1 And this story in particular, I love Spectrum when he did that. And what he's doing here as a perennial sci-fi tale is just masterful. Can't wait to see more. Issue 5 coming next month. All right, so for everybody here at the Facts Project, we will be back for issue 5. See you guys next time on the channel. Peace.